can't do a here with two panel members, or?
No, need a chair, Henry, yeah, okay. Do I have?
No, just this part.
Okay.
Calling
Good morning, everyone. I will now call the hearing to order. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. Due to unforeseen circumstances, we're going to be adjourning this hearing until 9:45 this morning. Thank you to all parties. See you at 9:45.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call a meeting to order. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we're in Treaty 1 territory in the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. My name is Ron Merritt. I'll be your chairperson this morning. Introducing the panel member is Linda McFadden to my left and Mr. Setting to her left. And representing the city of Winnipeg is Mr. Ken Wong, and our recording secretary is Belen Rojo. We'll be hearing application for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested has been described in each application, and we'll limit our discussions to those matters. The statements that the applicant or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anybody speaking in this matter must be sworn in. Please be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by City Council and is independent of it, along with the city administration. We make our decisions based on the evidence provided at the hearing and issue a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the decisions in respects to the applicant may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to value or classification, or to Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to exemptions from taxation. So you wish to appeal, the information will be provided or included in the board's order. In respect to the hearing this morning, I'll confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant. Following the swearing in, we'll then have the assessor's testimony, followed by questions that the other applicant may have, and then will be the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each party will have the opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all evidence about the application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket this morning. The session will close after all application has been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decision. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live stream recorded and will be part of the public record. I'll ask our secretary to swear in the assessor and Mr. DuPont.
Please state your full name.
Ken Wong?
You affirm the evidence you present is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state your full name.
Any DuPont?
And you swear the evidence you present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Well, we'll go according to the docket, so we'll deal with Archibald Screech, which is 932. So Mr. Wong, whenever you're ready.
The subject property is 932 Archibald. The roll number is 060-221-95000. It's a residential apartment block that's 2 stories high. It's built in 1960 and it has 36 suites with 33 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is our income valuation summary. We used average rents of $876 to get a potential income of $378,000. We used a 2.6% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $368,000. And we used a 49% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $187,000. Capped at 5.3%, we have an estimated market value of $3,530,000. On page 4 are our rent comparable, showing that the rents that we've used are in line with what's on the market. On page 5 is information on how we derived our cap rates, and as well as cap rates from other organizations. On page 6 are excerpts from relevant excerpts from the Municipal Assessment Act. On page 7 and 8 are some pictures of the subject property. The last few pages on the back of the brief are the income and expenses, the income statement submitted by the owner. So there has been some renovation work done to the property. The operating income for 2016 was about $163,000, and for 2007, the operating income for 2017 is about $173,000. On page 12, you'll see that they have a rehabilitation expense section, which totaling $448,000.
What page are you?
Page 12,
Oh, okay.
in the middle, they have a rehabilitation expense section totaling $448,000.
Did it say what year?
2017.
Oh,
2017.
oh, thank you, fine.
So their operating income has been increasing over the past few years, and their renovations, they incurred a lot of expense in 2017, and their operating income was about $173,000. So I think that was kind of like a pre-renovation operating income, and I think the $173,000 supports the model NOI at $187,000. So that being said, I ask you maintain the assessed value at $3,530,000.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Mr. DuPont, questions of the assessor?
Yes, your page 9. This is copied from the internet, I assume?
Yes.
Do you have a date for that? Was it pulled on April 1st, 2018 or current?
I'm not sure. I think I actually put it in there for just the state that it was renovated.
Now, there was some renovations in 2017. Was it possible that the kitchens were upgraded before that, or the flooring was upgraded before that also? That they had various times where they did some renovations?
I couldn't say.
You don't have prior rents, 2014, 2013 anywhere?
No.
Now, the renovations that you have on page 12, the biggest one is building exterior. So that's more of a structural type money that was spent.
That's was spent on the exterior, yes.
And grounds, 96,000, so that's likely parking lot, is that correct? Would you agree with that?
I'm not sure.
So the 448,000, the building interior was 59,000. So would you agree that what the tenant saw or benefited was the 59,000?
I can't say.
Do you know for a fact whether the rents were increased before April 1st, 2018?
I do not know.
Your comparables on page 4. Subject has 31 bedroom and 6 2-bedrooms, so it's mainly 1 bedroom. Would you agree that your comparables have a lot more 2-bedroom and they're mixed than the subject?
They are a different mix.
91 Willow Lake, is that more of a townhouse style, or is that an apartment?
I'm not sure.
That one has 985 square feet, and subject is 840 square feet, you agree it's larger for sure?
It is a bit larger. Yes, and regarding the different suite mixes, it gives you an idea of what the rents are.
And number 2 on Niagara, it's about half 1 bedroom and half 2 bedrooms, and the rent's $898, and you're going $877 for the subject. Should you not be going lower based on the suite mix?
The rents that we've used are, they're perhaps in the middle, maybe even slightly higher, but they're definitely within the range established by the comparables.
And your comparable number 3 has 36 1-bedroom and 18 2-bedrooms, and they're again a better suite mix, and say 871, so based on suite mix, should the subject be lower?
I believe the subject is within the range. You're never gonna find something that's gonna exactly be spot on, so.
And the same comparable number 4 has more 2-bedrooms than 1-bedrooms at 895, so that the suite mix there would indicate a lower rent for a subject, but did not.
Is that all the questions?
Well, I asked a question you're not answering.
Sorry, what was the question? I didn't quite catch the question.
Okay. Comparable number 4 has more 2-bedrooms than 1-bedrooms, so would that comparable also not indicate a lower rent for subject based on suite mix?
The suite mix is different. The comparables are there to give you an idea of what approximately it will be, what comparable rents are. They're not gonna be exact.
Okay, page 5, your cap rate comparables, so the table at the bottom, multi-family.
Yes.
High rise, you see 4 to 7.5.
Is that page 5?
Page 5.
Page 5?
Yeah, page 5, right. And then for all the different types, you have 4. So which type of property gets the low cap rate?
Right now, the smallest properties, like in terms of size of the building,
So you're saying that if it's under 11 suites or under 20 suites or whatever, or what is it?
square footage wise, maybe it would be under 8,000 square feet or approximately.
When we studied your cap rates for our properties, we found that you had the lowest cap rate for properties under 11 suites. Then under 20 suites, you still had below 5%, and over 20 suites, you were above the 5%. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, the smaller size buildings had lower cap rates.
And why do you give lower cap rates for those?
That's what the sales are indicating.
So the small properties would be bought by probably non-professionals, the mom and pops, is that correct?
Potentially.
No, I don't think we saw any cap rates at 7.3. I believe your older properties built 1945 as a base of around 6.5. So the 7.3 would be something with a 1% location adjustment. Would you agree with that?
Maybe you don't have properties in a certain area. I'm not really too sure why you haven't seen it, but I would think that it would be in an area that is less desirable and an older stock building.
Do you know offhand what your location premium is for the north end and west end?
No, but basically the less desirable areas do have the highest cap rates along if it was older building, say early 1900s.
So under the same table, Collier's cap rate for first quarter 2018 is 5 to 6 for high rise and 5 to 6 for low rise for all types. Now, would you agree that your 4% is much less than the Colliers?
It is different, yes.
And the CBRE is 5 to 5 3/4, and the low rises are 5.5 to 5 3/4. Would you agree that you're much lower than the CBRE?
Ours is different, and organizations are going to calculate things a little bit differently, but they're just to show that we are in the range.
Are you not outside the range with your 4%?
A little bit, yes.
Actually, anything under 5%, you're outside the range. Would you not agree?
There are cap rates that are 4.75, but our information shows there are cap rates that are between 4 and 5%.
Did you bring any cap rate comparables?
I did not know.
Do you have a list of addresses and cap rates or anything to that effect?
No.
Now, page 3, your income approach, it's not site-specific, that's model-driven.
Yes.
And your 4 rent comparables that you had on page 4, do you know if any of those were renovated?
I'm not sure.
That's all questions.
Thank you. Ms. McFadden, questions of the assessor?
So what you've submitted to us is completely based on the model, there's no override, it's driven by model.
Yes.
I don't have any further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Stenning?
You're doing the actual year built was 1970, right?
Yeah.
And there's been, by looking at all the pictures, they've been a lot of updating on that building, is that correct?
It appears so, yes.
Why is your effective date the same and not gone up?
It's likely because we haven't inspected it and we haven't updated the characteristics.
Who took the pictures?
Oh, they're from the owner's website. Or they're from the internet.
So they gave them to you?
No, they're advertised on the internet.
Oh, I see, okay, fair enough. These units on your, they're $7.99 per month, assumedly, is that correct? On your page 9?
I would say maybe don't pay any attention to that. I'm not sure of when that advertisement, it might have been post-reference, but the income information is available for 2017.
No, I just wonder because you got the,
Yeah.
the numbers don't mix.
Yeah, I think I put that in there just to indicate that the property, like on the top of that page, it says that this newly renovated 3-story walk-up is conveniently located near major bus routes, grocery stores, parks, restaurants. Just give you an idea that it has been renovated and the amenities or proximity.
But you're using a low cap rate on that, the lowest cap rate.
For this property,
Yeah.
we're using a 5.3 cap rate, but our cap rates range from 4 to 7.3.
I have a few other nitpicky things, but that's really all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wong, the building's been extensively renovated. Would you agree?
It appears so, yes.
Was work permits taken out?
I don't believe so.
Nothing?
I'm not 100% sure, but normally if there was permits taken out for alterations, I would include it in here to give us an idea, but sometimes work is done without permits.
So there was nothing on the field sheet at all for renos?
As far as I can, I don't believe so.
Okay. The subject is classified as a low-rise, is that correct?
I think by people's definitions are a little bit different, but by I think almost anybody's definition, it would be considered a low rise. It's just that when it becomes 4 or 5 stories or 6 stories, it becomes a bit of a based definition. But in our particular instance, we used to consider the low rise, high rise in terms of the cap rate, but we consider them the same now.
So I see that the city has refined their cap rate, fine-tuned it.
It's a bit different, yes.
Yeah, it's a bit different. So how did that come about? Like, I mean, you know, before we used to deal with, you know, 1/4, 0.5%, 3/4.
Yeah.
Now it's like 5.3. So how did they, you know?
I guess they just felt it was more accurate. You know,
So-
a quarter point jump is, you know, rounding one way or the other can make a noticeable difference. So I actually can't totally say, but I believe it's just to smooth things out a little bit.
All right. I have no questions then. Further questions? Mr. DuPont, the floor is yours.
Okay, so our report, you see the photo, page 1, the page inside, so 2.5 stories, a normal walk-up. It's an archibald. Page 2 shows the map, just south of Elizabeth Road, Windsor Park. Now we can skip the next few pages. page 5, we talked about the cap rate, and then I'll go through the cap rate report later, but we show that the age groups, what the assessor's cap rate, we see generally. Now, we did an analysis probably of over 100 apartment blocks to see what cap rate the assessor was putting on for different age groups. And we saw a low 4.2, but apparently there's some at 4. We didn't see those. So it shows the assessor's cap rate and then shows Altus cap rate. So the pre-1946, we go 6 1/4, 6.6. In essence, we will likely not dispute any of the cap rates in pre-1946. 46-59, we have 6 1/4. 60 to 74, we have 5 3/4 to 6. Now we have a range here, and then we'll decide whether we go to 1/4% higher for each one individually, but I have the suite mix that's too much towards the 1-bedroom or low parking or other negative features. 75 to 97, we have 5 3/4. 1998 plus, we have 5 to 5 1/4. There again, we have the option of giving a 1/4% more depending on the features of a particular property. Now the appendix, we can go to page 9 is the start of the appendix, and it shows how we categorize each of the items. And the rehab costs are on page 10. This is 36 suites. Most of the rehab are for structural or mechanical. Very little done in the interior suites. The building interior, 59,000. Sorry. By 36 suites. That's 1,600 per suite, so that's not much renovations. So that, I don't think it would merit the change in the effective age. If you have a problem, you fix your building exterior, you're not increasing the age. The doors and windows were not that much, and you're replacing faulty windows. And same thing as the grounds, if you redo your parking lot. Usually this should not affect the effective age. And we have the other years, and then the last page is our income approach. So page 16, so, yeah, 16. So last page, so we use the actual rent from 2017. And line 3, if you look at what we have, 333,501, you can put in brackets, if you divide by 36 suites by 12, it's 772 per month. If you divide the assessor's rent, it comes to 876 per month. And you recall the ad after renovations was 799. He doesn't know the date, but it says it has been renovated. They're charging $799. So the assessor rents is much higher than the advertised rents. And our rents is $772. It's $7 less than what they're saying they have advertised. Now, we don't know the date of that advertisement. It could be current. It could be April 1st, 2008. We don't know that. So we use the same vacancies as the assessor. We add the laundry, parking, other income. So we end up at line 13, 339,000 versus the assessor's 368,900. I believe that's our main difference. Expenses, line 31, we have only 169,000 expense, the assessor has 181. So the assessor has higher expense. Assessor's expense ratio is 29.3, his hours is 49.8, so we pretty much agree on the expense ratio. The repair and maintenance we allow, we have 5 years, line 27, and it's only $1,026 per suite. So our net operating income is 170 versus the assessor 187, so line 33. And then another big difference is the cap rate, 5 3/4 versus the assessor 5.3. And it says under remarks, the basement suites do not have AC. So if you don't mind, I'll go to my cap rate study now.
Who did that? The board member. I didn't realize that. Thank you.
Page 1 shows what our cap rates were, so this is in our report itself. Page 2 shows the cap rates from previous cycle to this cycle. So in blue, you see the Altus 2018 good locations versus 2020 and good locations. Pre-1946, we're pretty much the same, and we're going to agree with the assessor there anyways. 46 to 59, it was 6, we're now at 6 1/4. Number 3, the 68 to 98 was in 2 parts, 5 3/4, we're now 5 3/4 to 6. 68 to 98 was 5 1/2, we're now 5 3/4. And the 1999 plus, we were 5 before, we're now 5 1/2 to 5 1/4. And this is totally in line, our cap rate is totally in line with the broker's report. But we have also comparables, page 3. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 comparables. So we show the address, sale date, sale price, number of units. Stories, year built is shown there in the middle of the graph. And the cap rate that we have. Now the last 3 cap rates, you can see Ward, Beach, and Southview, they're newer properties, built 2006, 2014, 2014. These have cap rates of 5.13, 5.42, and 5.59. This is the properties with good information, bought by professionals, sold by one professional to another professional, and they have the cap rate 5.13 to 5.59. And you recall that our 1999 plus, we have 5 to 5 1/4, so those 3 comparables in essence would indicate maybe higher 5 3/4, 5 1/4. So our cap rate is, that we chose is quite good. The other cap rates for the other age group shows a 6.26, 5.94, 6, 6.65, 5.92, 6.29. So the previous age, the diversity 6 and above. And there again, our cap rate that we chose are 5 3/4 to 6 for the older walk-ups, or before 1999. So I believe our cap rates, site-specific cap rates, are actually a bit higher than what the brokerage reports are. Maybe even a bit higher than what we have, our final cap rates are. And then 4, we have the cap rate from Colliers and CBRE. What we do show is that the Colliers report, we show the change. The assessor did not show that, but we show what the Colliers cap rate was for the previous assessment and what they are for this assessment.
I'm sorry, what page are you on?
Page 4.
Okay.
So for high-rise, for previous assessment, Colliers was 5 to 6, and now it's 5 1/4 to 6 1/4. So Colliers went up 1/4%. For the low-rise, they were 5 1/4 to 6, now they're 5 1/4 to 6 1/4. So the change was 0 to plus 1/4. So the top end went up. The CBRE, their cap rates are exactly the same as they were for the previous assessment. We show apartment universe, the 2011 to 2017, it went from 52,000 to 57, so the apartment universe has increased by 5,000 or 10%. There's a lot more being built in the last few years. And there's starting to be some vacancy and some discounts that are being affected by the fact that the apartment universe is increasing, mainly the new construction. We show on page 5 the vacancy by unit, etc. The average vacancy, I believe, is 2.8. Cap rate calculations, page 6, 7 is the spreadsheets we have on each property, calculating the cap rates. Page 15 shows the appendix, and we have the CMHC reports in full. We have the data on each property. Now, how does Southview is number 10, and that's 78 to 84. If you can look at that one. So that's Southview, that the photo, page 78, that's a new property. And CBRE was the marketing agent. And they showed what they had, page 79, page 80, etc. Then shows the interior. Page 82 shows the map, Bridgewater Center, so that's one of the best areas now for new apartments. Then we have also an excerpt, ADT, from Stevenson that did an appeal of the property for 2018. So that's our cap rate report, and so therefore when we apply the cap rate 5 3/4, if you recall, most of our cap rate comparables for the age group 1970 are 6% and above, and we're 5 3/4, which we believe is very, very reasonable. So that would be our value of $2,959,000. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wong, questions of the applicant?
So basically, your cap rate study is saying that the cap rates have gone up since since 2 years ago?
Well, the Collier says it went up 1/4, and CBRE says it's the same. Our cap rate that we had last time versus this time is pretty much the same, but we do raise the 1960 to 98 from 5.5, 5 3/4. And then for 99 plus, we're still at 5, but 5 to 5 1/4. So we allow an extra quarter depending on individual features of an apartment.
So a 1/4 point on several of your page categories.
Yeah, up to 1/4. Some, yeah, the 1946-59 is up 1/4. 60-98, pretty much the same, but we allow 1/4 for site-specific negative features. 60-98, up 1/4. 99 plus is the base is the same, 5%, but 1/4 for negative features.
That'll be all my questions.
Thank you. Ms. McFadden?
So the rent that you're using, you can't give us a date for what this actual rent is on the advertising either?
No,
You don't have a date for that?
I have no idea.
I think like what is important is like the income statement that they provided. I think it does give a good indication of income.
Repeat that? The information they gave you what?
The income, the 2017 income statement. It tells you basically what their income is. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that was a good interruption.
That's all my questions.
Thank you. Mr. Stenning?
Well, I'm gonna go back to the $7.99. The city said that wasn't, they took that from an ad. That was, assumedly, that would be correct. Do you show how much, these suites are all identical in square feet and 36 of them, is that correct?
No, there's 31 bedroom and 6 2-bedroom. So the 2-bedroom would likely have a higher rent than some 99.
I didn't, maybe I'm looking, I saw it was 36 all the same.
Oh, no, on top, page 16, top right, shows the suite mix.
Okay,
The assessor likely has the
that's
same
fine, okay, so that
suite mix.
covers that.
Yeah, page 3, assessor has the same suite mix, yeah.
Okay, but you haven't given us what they are renting at, you've given us a total number, is that correct?
We use whatever rent they were collecting in 2017 from their financial statements,
Okay,
which is averages to 772.
I mean, I don't wanna push that, but all I was asking is, do you have a rent for the 1-bedroom and a rent for the 2-bedroom?
I don't have a rent roll, no, I did
So
not
you're
get it.
just using a total of all the rents that they've given you?
For 2017, what they collected, yes.
Is that a fair question, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you.
No.
Are you done, Rob?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to see if I could get the rent anyway,
Okay.
but if I'm not gonna get it, that's fine.
I just have a few questions, Mr. DeBont. You use the cap rate of 5 3/4. I'm looking at your cap rate study on page 3 and looking for, current sales that might be applicable. And I see that there's probably 3 in 2018. And they're substantially higher than the 5.75. So would you consider possibly going to a 6% cap rate?
Yeah, we had a problem with that, is that our comparables came out higher than what the broker's reports were, and we wanted to be in line with the broker's reports, and so we ended up coming up with a cap rate which is, I guess, kind of conservative in relation to our own comparables. Push comes to shove, it's possible that in the future we may change the cap rate to 6. I think we'll look at what our competitors are doing, what the board is doing, and make certain decisions in the next month or so, and we may in fact increase our cap rate depending what the boards and the competitors are doing. For now, today, we'll use 6 for this age group. 5 3/4, sorry, for this property.
So mathematically figuring, we've seen your analysis many times, and percentage-wise, total expenses are roughly the same as the city. So I look at the potential rents, and I see that there's some discounting that took place in regards to 2016, 2017. So these were probably incentives.
Page 9, it shows what they are. Tenant adjustment, 112, then rental incentive, 1131, rental incentive, move-in bonus, renewal bonus. So they're giving renewal a bonus to somebody that renews. So they're not caretaker, they're actually discounts given to the people. So the rents that they have need a discount. And even then, they still had 2.3% vacancy, so they're pushing the rents for this property. Sun 72, they had to give discounts and they had the vacancy problem.
So I look at the
Well, not to
potential,
say a
I look at the potential and it's very consistent in regards to, you know, the stabilization of the rent, eh? Of 333, eh? Your rent,
It's consistent with the financials, you're saying?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at the difference, $40,000 in regards to what the city's at compared to what you're at. Potential rent,
Oh, but yeah.
yeah.
40, but we add the other income, lottery parking, and so that
Yes.
the proper comparison is line 13,
Oh,
right? So there'd be slightly less than 30,000 difference there.
yeah, okay. I noticed the management fee in 2017 increased to 20,000, close to $21,000 compared to 14. What happened there?
Whoa, I have to look at the financials.
They changed management firms? or-
No, that's Towers. Where's the management?
Line
14.
Line 15.
Right, okay, so page 9. Middle of the page, management fees 14,307.
Yeah.
We have 2608, so we added,
Why would it jump so high?
managers charge extra when there's renovations.
And then you go to the next category, which is professional fees, and they went down by, I guess, 10,000. So what's happening there? But you stabilized at the 11,000, so, okay, right.
Yeah, we still have the lower one.
Okay,
I have a supplementary question.
yes, go ahead.
On those professional fees, I see in 2016 it's 21,000, then goes down. So with that, is it possible that that reflects the fees that they paid out for design fees for the renovations in that
Likely,
particular
it's
year?
likely.
And then went down the next
Yeah.
year? And to the assessor, if we look at the income statement, and both of you are showing the same kind of thing, and we take the 340, we actually come out with an average rent of about $779, but the rent that your model is showing is $876, which is a fair bit higher, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, one last question. Was this property ever appealed before, Mr. DuPont? Offhand?
We were told by the board last time that we don't need to show history anymore, and we stopped
Okay.
doing it.
Okay,
So
you don't know?
Towers was our client in 2018, and likely we reviewed the property, and whether we appealed or not, I'm not sure.
All right. Either party wants any summation in regards to summarize, Mr. Wong? Summary?
Just with regards to, it was appealed in 2018,
Was appealed?
yeah.
Do you have any results, or is that at the municipal board?
It was reduced from 3.3 million to 3,163,000, and it was appealed to the municipal board,
So is that the municipal board?
yes. And there was no appeal in 2016.
All right. Mr. DuPont, final word?
One thing is the rents, and the assessors at 876 rent, and the ad said that 799 after renovation, so I believe the assessors' rents are higher than what they actually were after renovations. and our expenses are actually lower than the assessor, what we stabilize that. So I believe that, based on our difference in rents, that we should go with our NOI. Then we have a cap rate difference in 5 3/4 is likely generous, based on what our comparables indicate, which would be more like 6%.
Thank you. Gentlemen, is everybody okay? Want a break or anything? You're okay?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Sorry, I just wanna say, like, you know, the assessment is at like 3,560,000, and there's 36 units, that works out to a little bit under 100,000 per unit, which is, you know, it's pretty fair for this type of property, especially considering the work that's been put into it.
All right, so let's press on to the other one in Archibald, which is 1006. So whenever you're ready, Mr. Wong.
The subject property is 1006 Archibald. The roll number is 060-934-60220. It's a residential apartment block that's 4 stories high. It was built in 1972, and has 72 suites with 72 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is our income valuation summary. We use average rents of $969 to get a potential income of $837,000. We use a 2.6% vacancy to get a net or effective gross income of $815,000. And we use the 49% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $413,000. Capped at 5.3%, we have an estimated market value of $7,804,000. On page 4 are a rent comparable, showing that the rents we've used are in line with what's on the market. On page 5 is information on how we derive our cap rates and cap rates of other organizations. On page 7 and 8 are some pictures of the subject property. It appears to be a well-maintained property. On page 9 is the income and expenses submitted by the owner. On page 10, they mention something called additional expenses, which is on page 11. The management expense is not included in the previous income statement, so that seems like a reasonable expense, even though it's higher than the 5% that is normally charged. It seems like it's in the 8% range, but it has office professional fees and office expense, which appears. It already appears on the income statement, so I believe that these additional expenses are kind of like their global expenses that WRE kind of spreads out amongst all their properties. I'm not sure how much it involves with the actual operation of the building, so the management definitely can be added in there, but some of the other expenses maybe not. On page 13 and 14 is their income and statement. And you can see at the bottom it includes their global expenses. The model is supported by market, but I wouldn't be opposed to a value of $7,367,000.
7,367,000,
67.
and the reasoning?
It's that would be reflecting their actual income of, say, 770,000, but their expenses are probably higher than they, like I said, it includes some global expenses, which I don't think is reliable, but applying our model parameters in terms of expenses and cap rate, but using their 770,000 in income, it would be 7,367,000.
Mr. Dupont?
So what's your NOI?
It would be 390,467. 390,467.
67.
Not accepted.
Okay. Continue on, Mr. Wong.
Yeah, like I said, the model appears to be a little bit high, and like I said, I wouldn't be opposed to a value of 7,367,000.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Mr. Dupont, questions of the assessor?
No, you don't use site-specific expense, you go with the expense ratio mainly because you don't trust the global expenses. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then you stated that the WRE would have certain expenses that they would allocate to all their apartments. Like they would have somebody do repair and maintenance that does repair and maintenance in all of them, and they allocate somebody's time to total cost back to the apartment on a per suite basis. Why would you say that those are not valid expenses?
Well, I can't tell what those global expenses are. But the thing is, when you look at their income statement, it categorizes all your typical expenses. And so I believe that the global expenses might be something other than what is required to operate the building.
Now, professional fees that they have on page 11, 917, and I believe they have another professional fee of $1,000 in there. So would you not agree that 919.16 that we have for 2017 is reasonable?
Well, it depends on if it's actually required for the operation of the building. If it's not required, then I don't believe so.
So why would you say it's not required?
Because if it's
The
required-
owners are showing their expenses like every other owner. You accept other owners' expenses, and here you don't because they manage a lot of the properties and they're distributing some of their expenses.
Well, some of those global expenses might be what's required to run WRE as a company, and not necessarily required to run the operations of the apartment itself.
And when you see repair and maintenance 2507, page 11, are you saying that's repair and maintenance on their own office?
I couldn't say.
Now, the owner is stating repair and maintenance for this building allocated is 2507. Would you not say it would be fraudulent on their part to actually be using that for repair and maintenance from their own apartment, their own management building?
Like when I look at their detailed income statement, it has a fair number of categories, and they seem like your typical categories. So I would think that the operation, the cost to operate the building would be in that income statement and not in their global expenses.
These are additional expenses. So repair and maintenance, they will show the repair and maintenance specifically for each item that was done for the building. And then they have an additional repair and maintenance for their staff that go from building to building. Just because they have repair and maintenance in their normal statement, doesn't mean, why would it mean that you cannot have repair and maintenance on a global basis?
I said there, if you look at all the categories in their income statement, it does cover all of everything that is required to operate the building except for management. And even their management is, their management at $60,000 is approximately maybe 8%, which is higher than standard. So I'm not sure it might include other employees, which is not typical of normal.
Yeah, we stabilize at 5%, which is the standard, so that should not be an issue to manage.
I'm just saying it's an indication of what the other things might be included.
No further questions.
Thank you. Ms. McFadden?
Just further to that question, if these global expenses were not shown separately, if they were simply allocated within the management fee, would you be questioning the amounts of these? Would they be outlandishly high, or would they be in the normal range?
It would be kind of close. Yeah, if you just included the 5, but if you include the 5% management, it would be kind of close. But these additional expenses, like I have seen a bigger list of these global expenses before, and they add up. These ones are a little bit lower, but I have seen them higher, which leads me to believe that it is part of other things which may not be included in the operation of the building. I just so I mean these numbers are not they're not super significant, or they're not super large.
Right.
I'm not saying they're not significant. They're not super large, but I have seen them where when they apply like an extra $100 per unit in a different category. It just sort of leads me to believe that it's something outside of the operation of the building.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stenning?
This is 71, 72, seems to pretty well stay the same. To your knowledge, has there been any renovations of any note been done to it? Do you have any permits since that time?
Not to my knowledge.
This picture here, you got 4 units all identical?
It appears that they are identical, like from the overview.
So there's only one of them that's being appealed?
No, all of them.
All of them?
It is
That's
one,
okay.
the 4 buildings, the roll number consists of 4 buildings.
I just want to clarify. Oh, that makes sense,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
No, I don't really have any questions, other than you're agreeing to 7367. That you're reducing it, okay. I'll let it go at that.
Okay, thank you. I have none, so Mr. DuPont, the floor is yours, sir.
Page 1 is the photo, and you can see, and it was a photo for the assessor also. You can see they're 1.5 stories, so there's no basement per se. like a normal apartment blocks, and it's the older type wood frame, so I believe they would be not as attractive as regular apartment blocks. And that could be one where we should be allowing for an extra 1/4%, but we're not. Page 2 shows the locations around Archibald, so it's quite a busy street, in Winter Park, just south of Elizabeth. Now, probably jump to page 10 is the financials that we have, which the assessment also has, and we show what items we have put in what category. And then page 10 says additional expenses, and page 11 we show those particular expenses. So page 11, we'll show the 60,000 on our spreadsheet, but we'll stabilize the 5%. Professional fees at 917, and if you look on page 9, under expenses, the fourth line is 998. So they charge 998 directly to the property, then they charge 917 on a global basis, which makes it like 1,800, so that's very, very reasonable. Office expenses, 7190. Every property has sundry and other expenses for property. Repair and maintenance, I would argue quite strongly that we have to include that. It's impossible that those repair and maintenance would actually be for their own property, management property. So you cannot say this is mixed with their own property, that would be fraudulent on their part. So we have to take the owner's word for it on something like that. And the assessor has a burden of proof to prove otherwise, and they're just saying, well, we don't like global expenses. I don't think that's sufficient. Page 12, 2016 is shown the financial statements that including global expense. The repair maintenance was high, 229,000. So we deducted 44,597 for refurbishment, 31,000 per roof. So we deducted 100. Those two items, and we come to 153. That's what we show. On page 13, we had the 2016 where they had the long form. Once they have the long form, we can see which items were large, and then you'll see page 13 what we excluded, the 44,598 and the 31,105. Page 15 is the 2015 statements, including global already. 2014 includes global, 2015 includes global already. So page 18 is our the last page, our income approach. So we show the revenues and expense, etc. So the line 13, 771, 737, the assessor has agreed to that already as part of his rec. So our main difference is expenses and cap rate. Now the professional fees, line 16, we show the professional fees, 1898, 568, 1916, and 1916, as you saw, they had about 917, I believe, from the global. So we stabilize at 3-year average. I believe that's relatively low and it's very reasonable. Line 17, office is under with 9843, the 3-year average. Utilities is likely not an issue. Repair and maintenance, line 27, we have 5 years, 97, 99, 77, 153, 105, and then 2016 is the one, we adjusted 2017, I believe, for 2 items. So the average for 5 years is 1483. This is built 1971, 72. This is what it cost to operate those properties, so I believe we should go site specific. So we apply cap rate, 5 3/4, built 1971, 72. There again, we could have gone the higher cap rate based on our own comparables. This type of property, the 1.5 stories, probably inferior to other types of apartments. But we're not asking for premium. Now, the assessor shows it as D wood or steel frame exterior walls, and I believe that is like, it looks like a wood frame, older type frame, and not the masonry type building, which would be inferior construction also. So at this point in time, we're saying 5 3/4 is 6%, maybe a better indicator, but for now, we're using 5 3/4. And that comes to a value of $6,155,000. That would be my submission. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wong, questions?
In your cap rate study, would St. Anne's, Mighton, and La Vérendrye be the most comparable to the subject property? Age and quality of location?
Mighton was after renovation, a substantial renovation with a 5-year rent extension, so there would be much higher rents, would be a superior property. The St. Anne's was also rehab prior to sale, 5.94 and 6.05 for those two. For the next three properties, probably more in line with the subject property. Non-rehab. Now the number 2 and 3 that you're saying, they're also 6 and we're going 5 3/4, so if anything, we're likely low on the cap rate. And likely for a municipal board, we would likely change to 6%. If we go to municipal board, sorry. He might not get there.
I guess the question was, are they the most comparable?
I said no, because they're both rehabbed. The next 3 are not rehabbed, and they'd be more in line.
And the next 3?
They're built in the 70s also.
Yeah,
Subject is built 71, 72.
yeah. And you feel Balmoral and Langside are comparable locations?
You'd have a higher cap rate, and if you adjust for a 1/4%, bring it down to 6 or so. La Vérendrye is the comparable location. That's in St. Boniface, 5.92. So if you want to go with location-wise, comparable 2, 3, St. Anne's, Mighton, and La Vérendrye would be more comparable, but that indicates 6%.
Okay. It also indicates that it sold for like $191,000 per unit, and in this particular case, you're asking for $85,000 a unit for the subject property.
Oh, we don't go on a per unit basis. We never do.
It is a significant difference.
Well, that's one of the highest, and then you have 100 Southview, which is a brand new building in Bridgewater at $256 per unit. Common denominator we're going here is the cap rate. We're not trying to value on the per suite basis. Because you got the sale price for units for St. Anne's and Mighton at 108 and 114, and they're both rehab, substantial renovations. So we can't really go with that. What we get from those comparables is the cap rate.
You were saying this one would be, I guess, more equivalent to Balmoral and Langside.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying what we get from the cap rate comparables is cap rates, not per suite basis. We're not doing direct comparison approach, we're doing an income approach.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, this, the sales seem to be good indication as a value.
I'm saying based on location, the three most comparables, St. Anne's, Mighton, and La Vérendrye, which are average around 6%.
And 108, 113, 191,000 per unit. Okay. That would be all my questions.
Thank you. Mr. McFadden?
I have no further questions.
Mr. Spenny?
I have no questions.
I have none either. Either party wants summation? Mr. Wong?
Nope.
Mr. Dupont?
No.
All right, we're going to take a 5-minute break,
Thank you.
okay? Order, and the next one is number 5. Yeah, and Quebec. And Mr. Wong, whenever you're ready. I think I wrote it down.
The subject property is 5 Levesque Street. The roll number is 060-930-99600. It's a residential apartment block that's 4 stories high. It was built in 2008 and has 298 units with 301 indoor parking stalls and 190 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is our income valuation summary. We use an average rent of $1,300 to get a potential income of $4,648,000. We use a 2.6% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $4,527,000, and we use a 38% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $2,763,000. Capped at 5%, we have an estimated market value of $55,277,000. On page 4 are our rent comparables, showing that the rents we've used are in line with what's on the market. On page 5 is information on how we derived our cap rates, as well as cap rates from other organizations. On page 7 are some pictures of the subject property. Page 9 is the 2017 income statement. On page 11, and it shows their additional expenses. Page 14, 16 are their operating statements. You can see their repair and maintenance in 2014 is $478,000, and their repair and maintenance for 2015 is $317,000. on page 10, they have an expense for near the bottom called vinyl plank flooring. At $65,000.
Okay, where am I looking at?
On page 10, it's probably
Yeah.
the fifth item from the bottom. The vinyl plank flooring,
Oh, I see, I'm sorry,
yeah, is $65,000. So it appears that they do include some capital expenditures in their income statement. But including some of that, their operating income for 2017 is $2,875,000. If you add management, that might bring it down to $2,670,000 or so, 75,000. I believe that supports the operating income that the model is estimated at $2,763,000. Especially considering that they may include some capital expenditure in their expenses. So I believe that their actual NOI supports the model and actually maintain the assessed value at $55,277,000.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Mr. Dumont?
So on your page 10, there's 65,000 vinyl plank flooring. There's 298 suites or 300 suites. You know how many suites that would cover the 65,000?
I'm not sure. Do you know?
Yeah, divided by 298 suites is 218 per suite. Would you not say that's a reasonable amount
To do on an annual basis, probably
Yeah.
not.
on a recurring basis?
Yeah, on a recurring basis, probably not.
What do you think it should be on a recurring basis?
Well, I'm not, how much do you think it would cost to, like, I'm not sure how much it would cost to replace vinyl flooring, but I couldn't, I wouldn't do it on an annual basis.
So would you agree that the past practice at the municipal board, the assessor and the agents, we allow flooring as a repair and maintenance item?
What I'm trying to say is that they may include some capital items in their expenses.
But you pointed to the vinyl plank flooring.
Yes.
Well, you would agree that flooring is usually not considered a capital item, capital expense?
It is a long-lasting item.
Would you agree that it's not normally included as capital expenditure?
I would consider it capital expenditure.
Are you
If
aware?
if I was in my house and I replaced my vinyl plank flooring, I'm not going to replace it next year, and I'm not gonna replace it the year after that, I'm not gonna replace it 5 years after that, I'm not gonna replace it 10 years after that.
Would you agree for an apartment block that replaces flooring on an ongoing basis that it should be allowed as an expenses and repair and maintenance?
If it's a recurring expense on and it's required for the operation of the building, then yes, it is part of their operating expense.
But you're saying if the flooring is in excess of what a recurring amount would be, then you would disallow it, is that what you're saying?
Do you know if they've claimed it as do you know if they considered it a capital expense?
It's not shown as a capital expense there.
No, I'm saying, do you know?
That's not in evidence, and what they show for their Revenue Canada, I have no idea. I doubt very much that flooring is going to be capitalized. I don't think anybody takes any flooring and capitalizes it. I don't think so. Accountants don't do that.
So you don't know?
I'm saying it's not common practice to capitalize flooring.
Sir, do you have any further questions for me?
Oh, sorry, I'm the one asking questions. You were asking me, do you know, I said, whoa. Mr. Chairman, stop this guy from asking questions.
You were asking questions of the assessor, okay?
Okay, so 2017, they have the detail, revenue and expense. 2015 and 16, you show page 14, 15, did not show the detail. And that's what was provided to the assessment department, is that correct?
Yes.
That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Mr. Fadden?
I have no further questions.
Mr. Stenning?
Yeah, this business of capital expense comes up periodically, and it's always questionable when you say, you mentioned Revenue Canada, that's why I bring it in. The odds are that Revenue Canada would expect you to amortize that over a period of time. And so my question would be, is that something, I guess you could say, either side gets something on that, because usually the Revenue Canada wouldn't allow them to write off everything. They would ask you to amortize it, so somewhere between the city and the appellants, somebody should come up with because then it becomes debatable on which side I would go on.
We get financials from Globe General, which is Phoenix Enterprise, which is the largest owner of apartments in Winnipeg. The financial statements shows what they show as repair and maintenance, and then we get the general ledgers. They show us the expense virtually everything. And then we get the general ledgers, we consider certain things to be capital items which we do not allow. So the accountants for Globe or Phoenix Enterprise, they do not amortize, they do not put in depreciation most items that they spend. So I think for Revenue Canada, it's a different criteria than from the Appraisal Institute, but most owners would not be amortizing flooring. I don't think it's heard of to amortize flooring, because that's a recurring expense. And what Revenue Canada accepts is virtually every expense except maybe a roof or a boiler, very large items. Virtually everything else could be written off on a yearly basis.
Just
So,
not to belabor it, but you said you did not look at their financial statements to see how.
WRE does not supply financial statements. What I'm saying, WRE does not supply financial statements, they supply what the assessor has. So we don't go and ask them for the financial statements.
Would it be fair, though, in your case, that you would ask them how they presented that to Revenue Canada? Would that be a fair question for you?
No, we've gone to municipal board before, and we've argued that what accountants do for Revenue Canada is totally different than what an appraiser should do for evaluating a property. So they have different criteria. But I'm saying to you that most accountants, when we do have financial statements, they write off virtually everything, except extremely large items. So if the accountants do that for Phoenix Enterprise, we're saying they're showing 500,000 in repair and maintenance. We look at the general ledgers, we only allow 400 or 300, because certain items we think are capital expenditure and the accountants do not. So I think it's the reverse when it comes to Revenue Canada, that the accountants write off a lot more than we would.
Okay, I'm fine with that, thank you.
We're just a little out of tune here.
Okay.
A little. We're asking questions. I think, Linda, you have a question just for the assessor.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Back on track.
Back on track.
Thank you.
We're testing you, Mr. Chairman, that's all we're doing.
I'm glad.
Just to go back to the flooring question.
Good.
Would you consider it to be a reasonable expense that they would replace the flooring entirely in every 10 years perhaps?
If they say went into the apartment and they replaced all the flooring, I'm not sure if that would be considered like an operating expense.
Wear and tear on an apartment?
That is wear and tear. But like I said, what we consider, say, operating, I'm not saying like what Mr. DuPont's view is wrong. I'm just saying that, like, you know, how we view things to try to. It doesn't have to be the same.
I guess where I'm going is that, you know, if you were spending $2,000 every 2 years on every apartment,
Yeah.
or every 10 years on every apartment, it would come up to the same $65,000, right? And $2,000 to repair floors over 10 years does not, I'm asking you whether that seems like an unreasonable expense.
That seems like actually a reasonable expense to try to determine that. Like, my view is that.
That's the same calculation.
Yeah, no, it's the same,
It's the
yeah,
same
I'm just saying, like, you know, say if it was 65,000, I'm not sure how much it would cost, but if you were able to use that 65,000 over 4 years and you were able to replace all the flooring in all the units within 4 years, I'm just saying that,
Just having done floors recently,
yeah,
I'm saying that that's not a reasonable, I'm asking you, right? Do you think that you could go in and replace the entire floor of all of the floors of the apartment for $65,000? Do you think that that's a?
No, but I'm just saying, like, you know, if that covered, say, 25% of the units, and then another 25% of the units, and then say over 4 or 5 years, that type of an expense does replace all the units. Then for the time period after that, there's going to be some benefit, and so it's difficult for us to say, but like when. I would say, like, for their 2016 repair and maintenance, they have it at 478,000, and for their 2015, they have it at 317,000. And I believe that when you go from such big swings, it just sort of doesn't lead me to believe that all the expenses are typical, and leads me to think that there might be some capital expenditure, and even. And in Mr. DuPont's evidence, he takes out what he thinks you know would be appropriate, and like I said, the repair and maintenance goes from 200,000 to 300,000 to 400,000. It's like that leads me to believe that there's a little bit of something, a little bit of leeway in there for some other items, and not. I'm not saying they should be exactly straight across, but for it to fluctuate so much, it just sort of leads me to think that there might be some other items in there. And when you consider that, take that into consideration, the model income is fairly close to what their 2017 income statement has indicated.
Thank you.
Mr. Wong, just one question. Has this property been appealed before, and is that the municipal board? You know?
It was not appealed in 18 or 16.
Okay, I thank you. Mr. DuPont, the floor is yours.
Okay, photos, page 1, and then the location shows there on page 2, so right on Legitimate, and the bank is the small little street off Legitimate, near Furmore, highway number 1. Quickly go to the financial statement. So page 9, we have the detailed one for 2017. It shows what we allowed, and they showed all the items that they had for repair, maintenance, et cetera. Page 10, it does show the vinyl plank flooring, 64,000. Flooring is allowed as an expense if it's recurring. Now, there was a decision, 1750, a long time ago, in the 1990s, I believe, and the municipal board said that they allow specifically flooring and appliances if it's done on a recurring basis. So therefore, if you replace all the flooring in 1 year, and you have zero expense for flooring in the previous years, you should not deduct the full amount. If you think flooring will last 8 years, you divide by 8. If you think flooring will last by 10 years, you divide by 10, so that's the amount you should be spending every year. 1/10 of the total, or 1/8. K4 had told me that they replaced their carpet by policy flooring at 8 years. And they told me last time they're down to 7 years now. So if it's not more than 1/8 to 1/10, it should be allowed. If you're doing it 3 years, over the 3 years. So these are allowed. I would think even painting is allowed. It's not capital expenditures, but if you don't do any painting at all for 5 years, and all of a sudden you paint all apartments, all the exterior, you'd say, well, painting will last 5 years, divide by 5. And that's what would be allowed. So you have to bring it down to a recurring level. Page 12, we have the 2016 that was given to the assessment department. The repair maintenance was high, so we went and got the detail, and it says notes, we excluded the grounds for 187,000. So the details start page 13. Page 14, it shows that we excluded the grounds, 187,325. So the building is 2008 was built, and already they're spending large amount on the grounds. Page 15, there again, the repair and maintenance has no detail. And so we went and got the detailed ones, and we excluded the grounds, which is page 17 again. So last page is our income approach. So you show the rents, discounts, vacancies, etc. We use the actual vacancy and discounts. So they have vacancy in the 5% range, so they're pushing the rents to their maximum. That's what the market's pushing back. So, and then we add the parking along. So line 13, we're higher than the assessor. We're 20,000 higher. So we're very, very close, slightly higher. Then we stabilize every expense, and the repair maintenance, line 27, after we adjust for removing of the high grounds expense, we take the 3-year average, and we are at 1,007 per suite. So that's a quite reasonable amount. So then we end up with expenses of 1,844, 1,844, sorry, versus 1,764. So the difference is in the expense, our expense ratio is about 1.6% higher than the assessor. Nevertheless, we're going with site-specific expense. Repair maintenance has been adjusted, it's now reasonable. So I believe we should go with the site-specific expense. Cap rate, we choose 5.25%. The cap rate comparables on page 3. The newer properties is 333 Ward, 5.13, Beach was 5.42, and Southview and Southbridge was 5.59. I believe on those 3 comparables alone, 5.25 appears reasonable. So that would be my report.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wong, questions?
Yeah, so, I guess, when you excluded the grounds expense, so you'd say that they do sometimes include capital in their income statement?
On the detail, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
The detailed management statement shows all expenses.
yeah,
And then when you with the accountant may remove the capital expenditures, when they report Revenue Canada.
Yeah.
But the management statements show usually everything.
So their income statement can include capital.
Yeah,
Okay.
what they provide the assessment
Okay.
department can
That would
include
be-
capital, yeah. Same thing when we get financial statements from Globe, from the accountant, we check further with the general ledgers and we try to remove items that we consider capital expenditures.
That would be all my questions.
Thank you. Linda,
I have no question.
Ron,
No, I'm fine, thank you.
summary either party?
Yep.
No,
I think it's a question of, your NOIs are fairly close, $61,000 apart. It's just a question of cap rate. Okay. Before we go on to the next, we have some people that have to plug their meters, so we're going to take about a 5-minute break, because we don't want anybody to get tickets. Yeah. Well, we'll call the meeting back to order. And everybody straightened away. And we'll go to 77 University Crescent. Mr. Wong, whenever you're ready.
The subject property is 77 University Crescent, roll number 030-538-58600. It's a residential apartment block that's 15 stories high. It was built in 1974. It has 394 units, 411 indoor parking stalls, and 30 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is our income valuation summary. We use average rents of $1,142 to get a potential income of $5,402,000. Use a 2.4% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $5,272,000. And we use a 53% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $2,452,000. Capped at 5.3%, we have an estimated market value of $46,279,000. On page 4 are our rent comparables, showing that the rents we've used are in line with what's on the market. On page 5 is information on how we derived our cap rates. Page 7 and 8 are pictures of the subject property. On page 9 is their 2017 income statement. One of their expenses is a $762,000 plumbing expense, so I think that they do include some capital in their income statement. And same thing on page 13, their repair and maintenance is $2,879,000, and on page 15, their repair and maintenance is $1,102,000. The last page is a permit for some work that was done to the exterior. So when you look at their income and expenses, their operating income without capital would be close to the model, and I ask that you maintain the assessed value at $46,279,000.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Mr. Dupont, questions of the assessor?
Your rents are much higher than actual. Would you agree to use the actual rents?
I think the operating income is fairly close, so it supports the model.
So you're saying the net is okay, but not the rents?
Well, I mean, we're trying to, when you look at the overall operation, whether, sometimes the rents can be a little bit higher, but the expenses are a little bit lower. So in the end, the operating income is close.
Right, so would you agree that the rents are too high, but you're offsetting that with your expenses, you're saying?
With potentially the model expenses being a little bit lower.
Then your expenses are not site-specific, they're model-driven, is that correct?
Yes?
That's all questions.
Thank you. Ms. McFadden?
I have no questions for the assessor.
Mr. Stenning?
I have a small one, and it goes back, I asked this before, to the city. The actual year was built in 1974, and you have the effective year again the same. Is there something changing from previous years that you don't increase the effective year?
It's possible we might not have inspected this property and determined whether there was an effective age change or not.
Did you look to see if any permits were taken out in that length of time?
I believe the permit that I was able to find was the one that I attached at the back,
Yeah, I
which
didn't read
is
that.
which is 350,000. So it's not.
No, I'm sorry, I saw that, and I agree, it's not a big one.
Yeah, no, I don't believe there were any other permits.
And you
For
or anybody has not looked at this place? You didn't go and visit it?
I don't believe we've inspected the property for a while.
That's all I've got, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Was the property appealed before, and is it at somewhere?
Yeah, it was appealed in 18 and 16, and it was reduced from 45 million to 42 million approximately in 18, and it was confirmed at 41 million in 2016. They were 16 and 18 were both appealed to the municipal board.
I'm sorry, what was the last one?
Yeah.
You-
Mr. Wong, tell us about 2018.
Yes,
45 to 42?
it was 44,895 to 41,803.
And that was done by the Board of Revision?
Yes.
And that was further appealed by who?
The applicant?
Applicant? Okay. And it's sitting at the municipal board for 18, and also 16 is there too?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Mr. DuPont, we're ready for your presentation.
Page 1, the photo. And it shows what we're asking for, and suite mix is shown there. Page 2 is a map, and you probably know where the property is. This is WRE again, so we're very familiar with the financial statements. Page 9 is the rent control guidelines. It allows 1.2% rent increase. We stabilize the rent at 1.2% higher in 2017. we show the, page 10, the December 2018 rents, which is kind of sneaking in data. After discount is 4,928, 4,928,000. Page 11 is the 2017. You see that the rent's 4,925, then they have the rent reduction discount at 189,000. Vacancy is shown there as 65,000. Then we have the rest of the financial statements. Page 15, it shows that we excluded doors and windows, 105,000, bathroom refurbishment, 203,000. Further down, we excluded heat cooling for 292, we excluded then fire and safety for 105. And we excluded plumbing for 934,000. On page 16, we excluded a lot more again, 149,000, that's for the roof, let me see here, that's, that's roof. And grounds, 93,000, we excluded. And we excluded painting, 266,000. There again, painting is usually allowed, but it's a really large amount in 1 year, that's likely non-recurring. Page 18 for 2015, we excluded what they call refurbishment. Page 19, we excluded roof for 2015 for 147,000. Page 21, 2015, we did not show any exclusion. So page 23 is our income approach. We show the 2018 on the left, so that they did all these repairs and maintenance so that we can assume maybe that they would increase the rents. But what we've allowed is 1.3%, so that if you'll see line 1, actual rents 4,925,000, we stabilized 5,055,000, which is 1.3% above 2017. Now, we allowed discounts, 277. That's halfway between 2018 and 2017 discount. Then you see vacancy, line 5, 2.9%, 3.9%, 1.4, average 2.7. So they're pushing the rents also to its maximum. Market's pushing back. So we stabilize at the same vacancy as the assessor, 2.4. Then the line 9 to 12, we stabilize the other income. So line 13, we're at 4,888,000 versus the assessor 5,272. It's 122 plus 272, so we're almost 400,000 apart. So I believe the assessor's rents are way too high based on actuals. Then when we come to stabilize the expenses, line 31, we're at 2,500,000, the assessor is 2,800,000, so we have a lot less expenses than the assessor. So when you get to NOI, we're 2,371,000 versus the assessor 2,452. So then we're only 70,000 apart, even though we start at 400,000 apart when we're looking at the rents. Now the repair and maintenance, line 27 is shown. So we report all the repair and maintenance after excluding all those large items. And then that comes to $1,657 per suite, what we stabilize that. Now the remarks, it shows what we excluded. 2015 we excluded the roof, 2016, etc. 2017 we exclude refurbishment, doors, windows, heating, cooling, and plumbing. And then this is above guideline increases of 5.1% in 2015, 12.67 in 2017, 6.5 in 2018. So they're going above rent guideline. They're spending money on the property, but they're pushing the rents. to the point that they have to give the high discounts and they have vacancy pushback. So then our difference, again, the big difference is the cap rate. We're 5 3/4, the assessors are 5.3. Then our cap rate comparables for a newer property, as you saw, is around 6%. Actually, our page page C, the cap rate study, to the far right, it shows the average cap rate for all those comparable was 5.92. The newer built 2006 was 5.38. The average cap rate 1964-76 is 6.17. We're using 5 3/4. I believe that that's well supported by our cap rate comparables, as well as the brokerage. I believe that we tempered down our own cap rate comparables to be closer to the brokerage. And I think I may revisit my cap rate study after the hearing today and go a bit higher. I believe that our comparables indicate a higher cap rate. Nevertheless, we come 5 3/4 for this one, and that we're gonna continue living with this for now. So we're asking for 41 million to vote.
Thank you.
And that's my report.
Thank you. Mr. Wong, questions of the applicant?
No questions.
Ms. McFadden?
I have no question.
Mr. Stenning?
No questions.
Just a couple questions. In yours, Mr. Dupont, you've sort of broken down expenses, and you, under the subject stability percentage-wise, I can see the figures coming to 51.5.
Right.
Okay, yet in the, okay, okay, I thought there was something wrong there. But your NOIs are the bottom line is $300,000. Right? NOI?
NOI, we're 29 and 52.
Oh, right.
We're only 70,000 apart.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's the rents, we're 400,000 less. But then we have 300,000 less expense than the assessor.
Yeah, like, yeah, 300,000, yeah, okay.
Less, but
Yeah,
then,
yeah,
the rent,
expenses.
then it's up to 75,000 difference.
Yeah,
And our expense ratio is lower than the assessor's expense ratio, and it's lower than the actual. They
Yeah.
was 53.7% average. But we stabilize individual items, and we come to a bit less expense ratio than actual than the assessor.
Mr. Wong, questions of the applicant?
You said no, right?
Okay. Okay. Summary, either party?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Okay. Markham Road, 990. Mr. Wong, whenever you're ready.
The subject property is 990 Markham Road. The roll number is 030-629-08600. It's a residential apartment block that's 3 stories high. It's built in 1971 and has 88 suites with 88 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is our income valuation summary. We use average rents of $1,206 to get a potential income of $1,273,000. We use the 2.4% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $1,243,000. And we use a 45% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $683,000. Capped at 5.3%. We have an estimated market value of $12,901,000. On page 4 are our rent comparables, showing that the rents we used are in line with what's on the market. On page 5 is information on how we derived our cap rates. On page 7 and 8 are some pictures of the subject property. On page 9 are the 2017 income statements and the 2016 and 15 income statements. The model appears a bit high on the rents, and I wouldn't be opposed to a slightly lower number. The 2017 NOI is about 625,108, capped at 5.3%, equals 11,794,000.
How much?
11,794,000.
What was the NOI again, 625?
625,108.
108? Okay,
So I wouldn't be opposed to that number.
okay. Mr. Dupont?
I don't accept that, so I
Okay.
think we're close in NOI, so we're down to cap rate.
Mr. Wong?
That would be my presentation.
Okay. Mr. Dupont, questions?
No.
Ms. McFadden?
I have no question.
Mr. Stenning?
Yeah, just, you said 11,794?
11,794,000.
What was your reasoning?
The model is estimated at higher, a little bit high compared to the actual performance.
On income?
Yes.
So, okay, just so I know, you changed the NOI to what? You said
625, 108.
Okay, yeah, but that's fair enough. That's all I have, thank you.
Mr. Wong, and just looking at the ratio, expense ratio, 45%, it's considerably lower. I mean, the ratio probably should be a little higher,
Well, potentially.
potentially, yeah.
Yeah, but typically, the model is estimated,
Okay.
and so, it's,
And,
It's-
and what made you arrive at the conclusion that the rent should be lower?
when I look at their income statements, it's very steady. It doesn't appear to have any capital. And the 2017 income statement is fairly representative of previous years. And so it's fairly representative of how the property would perform.
Okay. So do you have a potential gross for us then too? Or, seeing that you did an NOI,
I do not.
you don't? Okay. Lapointe, I think the floor is yours.
Photo, page 1. Walk-up, 1971. Page 2 is the map. Shows right off Pembina. We can jump to our last page, page 18. So the spreadsheet. A part of the difference between the actual, I have line 33, NOI, 625, 630. Kim's got like $200 less or something, 500, so we're very close on the actual. Now I stabilized less than that, because if you look line 15 management fee, it was actually 46,000, we stabilized at 5%, 54. So it's 8,000 more. Some other expense we stabilized less. Repair maintenance, it was actually 106 in 2017. We stabilized at 3-year average at 91. So certain items offset each other. And also the vacancy, we stabilized at 2.4% vacancy, and the actual was 0.1% vacancy. So once we do the site-specific adjustments, we have 620,000 NOI instead of 625. So I believe we should go with the 620 because it's site-specific. We usually do not stabilize on an actual 1 year. We usually stabilize items. Nevertheless, we were really, really close with the assessor. We're 5,000 off in NOI. So the difference is in the cap rate. Built 1971. Now our page 3 of the cap rate study shows that the properties built in the 70s have a cap rate higher than 6. So I would change my cap rate to 6% on this one. Divide by 620. So I guess I'll give you new figures here. 620, divided by 0.06. My revised value is 10,347,000.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
That's my.
10,347,000.
10? Yeah, you said 10?
10?
Yeah, 10,347,000?
Yep. And that is it?
Yeah, that's my report then.
Mr. Wong, questions?
So for your vacancy, you're stabilizing at 2.4%?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah. If the actual vacancy was 5%, would you use 5%?
Likely, if it was.
Okay. But if it's below the 2.4, then you use 2.4.
Yeah, as an appraiser, we cannot stabilize at 0.1%. You have to go with the market vacancy. And you went 2.4%, so we're going on a market vacancy.
Okay. So that'd be all my questions.
Ms. McFadden?
And the basis for raising your cap rate was again, sorry, remind me.
Oh, my two comparables on page 3 of the cap rate study.
Right.
The fourth, fifth, and sixth are 6.65, 5.92, and 6.29. So they're higher. The average,
Yeah,
the average is higher.
thank you.
So we're going to 6%.
Oh, I'm sorry, but can I just ask another question? But you're saying that the other analysis is indicating 5.75?
My initial analysis was 5.75, and I'm revising it to 6%.
Okay, but your initial, is it based off of the other analysis reports later in your cap rate study?
What's the question?
You had mentioned that other organizations were saying that it was 5.75.
Oh, the
Like
brokerage report?
Colliers? Yeah.
Right.
So they're saying 5.75 and you're going with 6.
No, they're saying 5.25 to 6.25. If Colliers, and you'd have to add 0.25% to that because they have all the closing costs. So they start 5.5 to 6.5. And then for CBRE, they're 5 to 6% for the three types of apartment.
Okay, so for Langside, you have it at 6.29,
Right.
but Colliers, and Colliers, on page 55, your report says 5.75.
Page what?
55? On page 55 of your cap rate report?
Page 55. Yeah, based on what they stabilized at, the offering price was 5.75.
Okay.
And as you can see at the bottom, page 55, they have second last line, offering price plus Manitoba land transfer tax, they add that in. So the cap rate does calculate more than just the sale price, it does have the closing cost there.
But their overall cap rate is 5.75.
On the offering sale price of 3,160,000, and that's Langside, and it's sold for 3 million. So that if you take the 3 million and their NOI, you'd have a different cap rate.
Sorry, that would be everything.
So is there something specific to this building that is having you raise that doesn't apply to the other buildings that fall in the same age category?
No, it's, I'm rethinking our cap rate study.
Okay,
And the others I did not adjust on, this one I am.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Stenning?
I go back to your rec of 11,794. Is that correct?
It's not necessarily a recommendation, I just wouldn't be opposed to that particular number.
No, I realize that,
Yeah.
but did you change, in order to get that figure, did you change the cap rate?
It would be at 5.3%.
Not 5.5? Okay, using your own NOI then?
He had a different NOI of 625,108. That's what he.
At 5.3%.
Yeah, 5.3. The rate didn't change, Ron.
Yeah, the rate is the same as the model.
He changed his NOI
Yeah, to,
to 625,108.
well, it kind of, maybe I'm wrong, I used his NOI at.
No, the one that he's got on his sheet
Is?
is 683,731. He
Yes.
changed that figure
Oh,
to 625,108. And it's still the same cap rate run at
Alright.
5.3.
okay,
Okay.
that's fine.
Summation on either party? Mr. Wong, Mr. Dupont?
No, thanks.
Okay. We'll go to Pembina Highway 1750, whenever you're ready, Mr. Wong.
The subject property is 1750 Pembina Highway. The roll number is 030-800-26000. It's a residential apartment block that's 14 stories high. It's built in 1977. and it has 273 units with 328 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is our income valuation summary. We used average rent of $1,023 to get a potential income of $3,351,000. We used a 2.4% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $3,271,000. We used a 46% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $1,749,000. Kept at 5%, we have an estimated market value of $34,992,000. Page 4 are rent comparables, showing that the rents we've used are in line with what's on the market. Page 5 is information on how we derived our cap rates and the cap rates of other organizations. Page 7 is a picture of the subject property. On page 9 is their income statement, and for 17 and 16, and then page 11 is their income statement for 15 and 14. Their repair and maintenance fluctuates from, say, $1,074,000 to $794,000 to $671,000. So it appears that there is some capital. On page 13 is a more detailed income statement. On page 16, they have a list of capital expenditures. You see, like the very first item is, $1,815. There's some other smaller figures in there. There are also some larger figures, but they put that in the capital category. For that year, their repair and maintenance was about $185,000 for 13, so it gives you a very rough idea of maybe what their repair and maintenance would be. And so if we round, it was $185,000, even if we round that up to $200,000 for repair and maintenance and applied it to their 2017 income statement, their net operating income would be $2,091,000, which supports the model at $1,749,000. So when you remove the capital expenditures from their repair and maintenance, I believe that the actual performance supports the model, and I ask you maintain the assessed value at $34,992,000.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Mr. DuPont?
So, page 13, you show 2013 revenue and expense,
Yes.
and you want to apply the 2013 to 2017, is that what you're doing?
I applied something higher and just as a rough estimate.
Where do you see a total repair maintenance anywhere?
Oh, I added the repair and maintenance. They have repairs and maintenance exterior. They have repair and maintenance interior. And I added those.
Now, page 16, where you said the first figure was 1815 there, and so under capital expenditures, this is RTB, residential tenancies branch, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is that rent control? So they say RTB capital, it's capital as per residential tenancies branch. So for rent increase applications, they amortize certain items. Would you agree with that?
I couldn't say. It just says it's a capital expenditure, RTB.
Right. And you're saying you accept that as being capital expenditures or not?
It looks like capital expenditures.
And painting, wall repair, exterior, RTB capital, so you're saying painting is the capital?
They are saying it. There's also like in their exterior expense column, they do have painting and wall repair as well.
And then the appliance repairs and repairs apparently is RTB capital. And appliance replacement, dishwasher, fridge, stove, washer, etc. are RTB capital. So would you agree that the RTB capital would take the cost of the dishwasher and divide it by 8, 10 years, whatever they have for their policy? That's for calculating rent increases, is that correct?
It's difficult for me to say what they think. But they've listed it as a capital item.
Solve the question.
Thank you, Ms. McFadden.
I have no further questions.
Mr. Stinney?
Well, there are some things here that, but I will leave it and I won't ask any questions. But I do have some notes put down here. I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Wong, was this property appealed before?
It was not in 18, but it was appeared to have been withdrawn in 2016. So I don't think there has been any appeals over the past few cycles.
Just one question, I guess, Mr. Wong. Your cap rate for this property is at 5%. And, ones prior are 5.3. So, why the decrease in cap rate?
I think it's a different age category.
Okay, so, I think the previous one was 1991, 1971, and this is
77.
77. So is that the cutoff point?
Maybe-
They're around there?
It's probably right around there.
Okay.
like, we treat similar type properties
Yeah.
consistently. So if there's another property
Okay.
similar to this, it would be 5 as well.
Okay. All right. Any summation on either party?
Actually,
Mr. Wong?
Mr. DuPont is.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is the-
Oh, sorry.
You're way ahead.
Yeah, I know, I see that.
we're almost there.
Not enough coffee there, Ron.
Yeah. I do a lot of work ahead of time. Mr. DuPont, the floor is yours.
Okay, page 1 is the photo. And 2 is the map. Which shows it's off Pembina. Now the financials, start page 10. And this is a Phoenix Enterprise or Globe General. What they provide to the assessment department are the accountant's financial statements. And the accountant, you could see, for 2017, they had 1,074,260 in repair and maintenance. And we have a general GL analysis. And you'll see that we stabilized repair and maintenance at 646,016, much less than what they have on the financials. Because we remove certain items which we believe to be capital expenditure, but with the accountant statement for Revenue Canada, they're writing off virtually everything. Now, 2015 is also the accountant's financial statements. Now, page 12 is our analysis of the general ledgers. And general ledgers are 50 to 100 pages long for each year. Like it's a lot of details. There's every bill that they pay, and they categorize that. So we show each of the items, 15, 16, 17. Then we show what we stabilized. We show a 3-year average. We show the notes as to what we stabilize at. So in blue, what they have as capital purchases and major repairs, we exclude that. So we excluded the 174,000 that they had in 2017 and 312. Totally excluded that. Items in red, we do not rely on those items. So floor maintenance, which is allowed items, but they spent 102, 113, 194,000. 3 years were 136, and we stabilized that at 68,250. And we stabilized that was 2,500 per suite, divided by 10 years, which is 250 per suite per year times number of suite. Now the 2,500 is probably on the low side. That's what we were using maybe 10 years ago. I should update that. It's likely much higher by now. But nevertheless, we reduced the flooring maintenance to a recurring amount at 2,500 per suite over 10 years. The electrical maintenance, you'll see in red, 129,000, we disallowed that one, and the other 2 years were 20 and 27,000. So we stabilized at 24, we stabilized at average 2015, 2016, excluding the high 2017. Door locks and keys is 17,281 in red, we disallowed that one. We thought that was an unusual, non-recurring items, because the other 2 years don't have any. Now the rest of the items following that are shown as 3 years average is what we allowed. In blue, refuse and snow removal, we put that in a separate category, waste and snow. Under plumbing repairs, we disallowed the high 2017 years of 105,640. We did the average of the other 2 years. And the pool, we disallowed the high year of 30,359. So we use a 2-year average, 2015, 2016. So at the bottom, The R and M is excluding CapEx and excluding waste and snow. So the CapEx are the two in blue above, and the waste and snow are the two in blue. So the actual repair maintenance, excluding those four items, are 614, 723, 1,000,001. The average is 783, but we stabilize at 646 because we stabilize each individual item. We removed some of the high items, and we stabilize the flooring at the 2,500 per suite. Then the actual per suite of R&M, excluding CapEx, and I believe waste and snow, was 2,200 per suite, 2637, average 28. We stabilized at 2366. So our page 13. The rent, residential, it went from 2,000,009 to 2,078 and to 3.2, and that 3.2 was a 4.3% increase. No, I didn't put that down, so you can make a note there. I stabilized at the actual rent for 2017. I allowed a 2.4% vacancy. The assessor allowed, it's a market vacancy. Then line 13, we're 6,000 less than the assessor. 271, no, 50,000 less. No, more. 3,321, sorry. So we're slightly more than the assessor. We stabilize each individual items. The one item that we stabilized before, the page before, was repair and maintenance, where we show the actuals. We stabilized 646, which is much less than actual, because we stabilize each individual item in the general ledger. So our total expense line 31 is 1,762 versus the assessor 1,521. So we're higher than the assessor with 53.1% expense ratio. The actual expense ratios are shown line 32. The average is 59. We stabilize at 53, less than actuals. It's more than the assessor. So we have 1,558 NOI versus the assessor 1,749. So the main difference would be in the expenses. The assessor doesn't show individual expenses, they go with a model where it's site specific. And then we're different, quite a bit different on the cap rate. We're 5.75 versus the assessor at 5. Our cap rate study for the 70s, we're 60s and 70s, we're 64, 76 with 6.17%. This is a high rise. So even though we would be 6 for that age group, we're going 5.75, which is 1/4% less due to the fact it's a high rise. So we believe our cap rate is reasonable in relation to the comparable. That's our report.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wong? Questions?
So I guess on your last page, your repair maintenance is listed at 651, 737, and then 1,026,000.
Right.
And you've stabilized at 646,000.
Right.
Yeah. And that's, I guess that's based off of your view of what is capital and what isn't.
Right, from the general ledgers, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so they do include capital in their repair and maintenance. It's just that you've used your judgment to remove what you deem to be capital.
They have only one category, which on top in blue, they're major repairs. They don't have capital purchases. Now, we consider major repairs as capital expenditure. We don't know exactly what it is, we exclude it. They don't have roof in here, which would be capitalized. I assume they would capitalize. They have a roof repair, which is allowed. A roof replacement is not shown in there. So some of the items we removed were like flooring, door locks and keys and plumbing. Those are allowed repairs, except we just allow the high years.
you disallowed them just because they were high and not necessarily,
Right, some were high, like the electrical maintenance, 20,000, and then 129, so we disallowed the higher. Flooring maintenance, flooring is allowed repair maintenance, but if it has to be recurring. So we allowed a recurring amount of 2,500 per suite over 10 years, which is likely on the low side, and I'll be revisiting that with other properties in the future.
that'll be all my questions.
Thank you. Ms. McFadden?
I have no questions.
Mr. Spinning?
You didn't give us any comparables of other buildings. You have on some, and this one that you have
Comparables for what?
for the building itself, for the type of building or the location.
Comparables on rent, cap rate?
Yeah, where it is physically. And you have given us other comparables of other buildings. You haven't?
I'm not sure, comparables on what, rent, or what?
Showing us a picture of a building in different areas, and I don't think I'm being complicated yet. I just, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure of your question, but I don't show comparable rents and or photos or.
No, I had a reason for asking, but I'm fine, thank you.
Summary, either party?
Nope.
Okay. We'll go to 1681 Pembina Highway. Mr. Wong, whenever you're ready.
Oh.
The subject property is 1681 Pembina Highway. The roll number is 030-929-97065. It's a residential apartment block that's 2 stories high, comprises of 9 buildings, and it was built in 1972. There are 189 units with 230 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is our income valuation summary. We use average rents of $1,195 to get a potential income of $2,711,000. We used a 2.4% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $2,646,000. We used a 49% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $1,341,000. Capped at 5.3%, we have an estimated market value of $25,317,000. On page 4 are rent comparables, showing that the rents we've used are in line with what's on the market. On page 5 is information on how we derived our cap rates and what the cap rates of other organizations are. On page 7 are some pictures of the subject property. On page 9 is the income statement for 2017. On page 12 for their 2017 income statement, they're indicating an operating income of $187,000 as compared to their income of $2,283,000. So there does appear to be capital in their expenses. The model is much higher in their potential, in their effective gross income. So I wouldn't be opposed to using their actual income with model parameters to get a NOI of $1,157,000.
1,150,000?
57,808. That's 1,157,808 at 5.3%, which gives you 21,845,000.
21 million.
845,000. Once again, I wouldn't be opposed to that figure of 21,845,000.
Mr. Dupont?
Declined.
Okay.
Are you using the actual EGI that I have on my page 13?
No,
Oh. Are you using 2277?
I'm not sure what you used.
Oh, but what are you using for EGI?
$2,283,196.
Oh, okay, which is what I have, okay.
I don't look at what you got.
Oh.
I'm just looking at from my side of things.
Okay.
Mr. Wong? You're not accepting that?
I'm not accepting.
Okay. Okay.
And you're finished?
I'm not sure. Gonna
Yes.
find out. Mr. Wong, are you finished?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Dupont?
No question.
Ms. Fadden?
I have no question.
Mr. Stenny?
No questions.
The floor is yours, Mr. Dupont.
Yeah, so page 1 is the photo. 1972 walk-ups are 2.5 stories, so it's a half story, lower one. Page 2 shows the area, and it shows it's 9 buildings, I believe the assessor had. The financials of page 9, the starts. So they have a very detailed income and expense. On page 9. Okay, page 10. Under extraordinary repairs and maintenance, 669, we disallowed that. 669,000. The 2016 started on page 13. Page 14, the extraordinary suite repairs was only $7,008,000, but we disallowed that also. No, at the bottom, also, they have $129,000, which we disallowed. And page 17, we disallowed 1,031, and page 18, we disallowed 4,200 extraordinary repair maintenance. And we got 2014 also. And 2013. Doesn't look as if we disallowed anything there. So our last page is the income approach. Line 13, the assessors agreeing with our EGI.
I'm not agreeing with it.
Oh, is it you're not opposed to it?
I'm presenting my number.
Okay,
It just so happens that they're the same.
Oh, okay. So, I'm not gonna spend time on the AGI. Because Kim is not opposed to it. So our differences in the expenses. We have less expense actually than the assessor. So what's the NOI for the assessor? $1157.
Yes.
Oh, you must have adjusted your expenses to a 49% ratio, is that it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, so we do have a difference in expenses. I'm not sure what his is, but it's 49%. Mine is up 53%. So now we went site-specific in all items. Repair and maintenance, line 27. We show all the years, 5 years. We stabilized the average 2013 to 2015, so we disallowed the 2 high years of 2016, 2017. So the 3-year average, 15 to 17, is 388. We went much lower, 267, even after removing their extraordinary items. We end up much lower than what they had for 16, 17. So our repair and maintenance per suite is 1416. So I believe the stabilization is quite reasonable. So we stabilized at 1066 and the assessor was 1157 after his recommendation. And so the big difference is the cap rate. We're at 5 3/4 for 1972. And the cap rate comparables we have for around that age is around 6%. So I changed my value here to a 6% cap rate. Do calculations for a revised value. $17,777,777.
777.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. DuPont. Mr. Wong, questions?
No questions.
Ms. McFadden?
I have no questions.
Mr. Stenning?
I have no questions.
Summary of the party? There you go. We'll go to the last one on the docket, which was 1833 Pembina Highway. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Wong.
Sorry, can I make a very quick trip to the washroom?
Absolutely. Anybody else? Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. We have a new secretary, Kelsey Harrison. Mr. Wong, whenever you're ready, we're gonna go to 1833 Pembina Highway, whenever you're ready.
The subject property is 1833 Pembina Highway. The roll number is 03092996555. It's a residential apartment block that's 7 stories high. It was built in 1972, but we have an effective year built of 1999. There are 140 suites with 58 indoor parking stalls and 99 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is our income valuation summary. We used an average rent of $1,033 to get a potential income of $1,735,000. We used the 2.4% vacancy, get an effective gross income of $1,694,000. And we used a 43% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $963,000. Capped at 5%, we have an estimated market value of $19,262,000. On page 4 are rent comparables, showing that the rents we've used are in line with what's on the market. On page 5 is information on how we derived our cap rates. On page 7 are some pictures of the subject property. Page 9 is their 2017 income statement. When you look at their net operating income for the past 3 years, it averages about $1 million, and that supports the model net operating income of $963,000. So I ask that you maintain the assessed value at $19,262,000.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Mr. Dupont? Question?
Page 7 of your photos. The property there that does not look as if it's that much better, but it's been renovated, is that correct? But it's not really
Yes.
high-end materials in any way, is that correct?
It is what it is. It's a renovated building.
Now, you went, page 1, from 1972 actual to 1999. How did you arrive at that?
I believe a colleague determined that a 1999 effective date was warranted based off of the work that was done to the building.
How was that determined?
I'm not sure, it was just to reflect the work that was done.
Would you agree that in Winnipeg, that over 50% of the apartments have been renovated to some degree, possibly a lot higher, that is quite normal for properties of that age group to have been upgraded, updated, renovated, etc.?
There's a decent amount of renovations going on, yes.
And would you agree that very few get the effective age adjustment like this one?
I can't speak for all the other properties.
Now, your comparables that you have, rent comparables, page 4. Your rents are higher than actual. Now, you compare the 4 properties. Now, the subject, the 2 bedrooms, 42 out of 140 suites is 30%. The next 4 comparables are 50%, 55%, 54%, and 81%. The last comparable has 81% and 2-bedroom suites. So based on a suite mix, should your rents not be lower than those comparables?
It does appear to be a little bit higher, but I believe it is within the range.
All these comparables are showing the year built, 1973, 70, 74, 77. So none of those have changed their actual age to an effective age, is that correct?
I'm not sure.
Yet their rents are higher than the subject? The subject.
Their rents establish a range, and it gives you an idea of what apartments go for, and I believe that it is in line with what what is used on the subject.
But subject rents are not 20% higher than those comparables, and 30% higher due to their renovations. They're pretty much in line, you're saying, right?
I don't know, what the question is.
No more questions.
Thank you, sir. Ms. McFadden,
I have no questions.
Mr. Stenning?
No questions.
Just one question. Mr. DuPont raised the question about the effective age. So have you been to the property at all, or have you, you know?
I have not, but a colleague has.
Okay, so therefore, there was extensive renovations, you know, and therefore, the cap rate was adjusted downward from probably 5.3 to 5%?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, because of the renovations.
Yes.
So was there permits taken out or at all, or do you know offhand?
Not that I can tell, no.
Okay. All right. Mr. DuPont, I think we're ready for your presentation, and I'll just save you a little bit of time. Your NOIs are probably close to the same, so it's cap rated.
Yes, I was gonna point that out. But We
Okay.
have lower rents than the assessor. So the average rent is $957, which is not that high, so, which relates to the effective age. So the top right says we dispute the effective age. We said it should be pre-1999. I believe it should be 1972. There's virtually no apartment block like this that has not had some kind of renovations. That does not exist. So that's unfair to go for effective age on this one and not others. So it's 1972, and based on our cap rate analysis that we have, around 6% for that age group. But subject is a high rise, it's 8 stories, and because it's a high rise, we'll keep the cap rate at 5 3/4. So our value comes to $6,734,000, mainly due to the cap rate difference. And that's my report.
Thank you. Mr. Wong, questions?
No questions.
Ms. McFadden?
The city is maintaining that they've changed the effective rate viewed on it, based on an inspection. Is it possible that other buildings in this category have not been inspected, and that's why they have not been changed? I know a couple we've talked about earlier.
Right.
They don't have inspections.
I guess they go through a process to change an effective age, and so there's a whole bunch of apartments, even here today, where there's been renovations over time, and there usually is. We spend a lot of time removing capital expenditures from repair and maintenance, that's what we do often. And those were not changed, the effective age were not changed. I would suggest that virtually every high-rise built after 1970 had some kind of renovation.
Excuse me.
Without change to effective age.
Thank you.
There's reasons why they haven't done others, but it's still not fair.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Stenning?
No questions.
Gentlemen, either party wants summation? Mr. Wong?
No.
Mr. Newcomb? Mr. DuPont? All right, that concludes our hearing. So, gentlemen, thank you very kindly.